All right, just before we start this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'll lightly touch on some stuff, but no like crazy specific details or anything, because I'm assuming most people haven't seen it yet since it's come out this weekend. But here is my review for Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle is the first of 3 in the trilogy to end off the Demon Slayer series as a whole, and it takes place pretty much immediately following the end of the Hashira training arc, picking up exactly where it left off, because I mean, you know, it's called Infinity Castle and everybody fell in. Now, I've always liked Demon Slayer, but that was always the extent. I liked it. I think it has a few of the most perfectly done fights in all of anime. Tanjiro versus Rui, Rengoku versus Akaza, Tengen versus Gyutaro and Daki. I mean, bangers! But personally, I fell into that category of people that never got that engrossed by the characters or story. At least compared to like some other anime. But that's until this movie came around. Kind of. Let's get this out of the way now. I'll give it an official score at the end. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle is fantastic. Now, I love Mugen Train, do not get me wrong, but this movie is like if Mugen Train snorted a pile of coke to the ceiling. Also, can I mention, I had no idea this or Mugen Train was rated R until I saw it like breaking records. Like, obviously it was going to break records, and then it was breaking records in the R-rated category. I was like, are you sure? I saw some kids in there, which like it kind of makes sense that it's rated R, but like I feel like at this point I'm like desensitized to it because I'm like, yeah, Mugen Train. There was just a hole in Rengoku. Anyways, with that being said, let's first dive into the bad, which is much on the lighter side before we get into the good. Now, there wasn't that much that I can say I disliked about Infinity Castle aside from a few things, but maybe it can grow as the trilogy continues. I've seen the main complaint from people being that one of the backstories is too long. And to be fair, it is a long one. I mean, the full runtime of this movie is a whopping 2.5 hours. That's The Dark Knight. And even for an anime movie, it's kind of mind-blowing how long it was. But personally, I didn't find the backstory that egregious in terms of like the time that it took and how it used said time. I don't care if a backstory takes a while if it has a purpose for taking that while. I saw the movie with 2 other people, and at the end, both of them said they didn't like how long it took, but I found myself feeling the complete opposite. But I wanted to bring that up because that seems like the biggest point of contention for everyone with this movie. I see it argued about the most, and I think the main reason is because the backstory takes place in like the final act, so it's all gas, no brakes for 2 hours, and then it almost feels like an intermission as things are kind of concluding. So it may have just been the fact that the whole pacing of the movie feels a bit odd. Now onto my own personal actual gripes with the movie. 1, nowhere near enough Zenitsu or Inosuke. I expect them, especially Inosuke, to be in like 75% plus of either the second or third movie. Zenitsu did get his time to shine, but I feel like in the grander scheme of things, it could have been more. And this is where it kind of ties back to my problem with Demon Slayer as a whole. There's a moment in this movie where something happens and you're kind of expected to understand or like react to who/why it happens. Of course, it fleshes it out a bit, but I found myself looking between my 2 friends like, do you know what's happening right now? Come to find out, I looked it up after the movie and it correlates to a 1 minute, yes, I timed it, scene in season 1, which makes a lot more sense now that I've rewatched that scene. So maybe part of that's on me since it's been like 5 years since I've seen season 1. But at the same time, it's the thing about Demon Slayer is me wanting them to flesh out characters more. It's why I don't feel that attached to them. Over the course of the seasons, we've learned bits and pieces about Zenitsu and Inosuke, but not as much as I would have hoped. And I mean, in the Swordsmith Village arc, they were actually just gone from the show. Like, this show does not have many arcs whatsoever, so for them to be completely absent, I feel like you're just missing a lot of potential just like development time or anything. But don't get me started on the Swordsmith Village arc. I found that arc very mediocre, and I expected to get to know more characters more, but like Mitsuri, who was like one of the main Hashiras in that arc, I feel like I came out of that arc not knowing much more. On the other hand, Muichiro, we did get to, or is it Tokito? Is it Tokito Muichiro? We did learn a lot about him, which is, it's what I want out of like every Hashira, or at least more out of Hashiras and more out of Zenitsu and Inosuke. And I get that it's Tanjiro and Nezuko's story, but for these moments to hit better, I feel like gotta have more of those moments. And that's just where like the shortness of Demon Slayer kind of bites itself. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on like how much time you get with certain characters, but for me personally, it just isn't enough. Even Shinobu's past is brought up in this movie, and I know it touched on it like at some point in the Hashira training arc, just for like 1 bit. It kind of planted that seed, but it feels more like, hey, we're gonna need to bring this up. We need to bring this up now so that we can reference it. You know, not more of like a, we're getting to know this character character and understand this character. And I'm not saying every character has to be like One Piece where you get your entire own arc and island dedicated to you. I think it's just a core part of Demon Slayer that just doesn't as much appeal to me. So that little tangent just kind of connects with the whole Zenitsu's highlight in this movie. But at the same time, whenever we get to the good parts that I liked, Zenitsu is also included, shockingly, so don't type your hate comment yet. Please hear me out. I only have one more gripe with Infinity Castle, like literally only one more. And to be fair, Demon Slayer has kind of already set the precedent for this, but the power scaling ass pulls and power spiking is pretty egregious in this movie. And for the most part, I kind of just laugh it off because it's, you know, it's tropey. But there's one scene in particular where Tanjiro, just like in the heat of battle, remembers like one interaction he had. He's like, yeah, and then it really helps him. And again, I kind of, it knows what it's doing, and I just kind of eye rolled and kept it pushing because that's how, like, that's how shonen is. This, it felt a little bit shoehorned in because it's just one random interaction, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, one more gripe. There was a baby in this movie. Not in the movie, in the theater. What are you doing bringing your baby to an R-rated movie where it's going to be loud the entire time? I was in one of those theaters that's like louder speakers, bigger screen. If you're gonna bring your baby, at least go to like a regular one where it's not gonna be as loud. That little thing cried the first half of the movie. I'm like, I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna carry it out myself if you don't. I understand you can't get a sitter at all times, but like, oh my God, just kept crying and crying and crying and crying. All right, on to the good. Let's start joy baiting here. Joy baiting, joy farming, maybe? I could go on and on for a while about what I liked about Infinity Castle, but I think one thing that stands above all that caught me even more off guard was the soundtrack and sound design. There were so many moments in this movie where I found myself hitting the you know, the blades clash, the soundtrack swells, and you're like, oh my. And I have to mention the sound design because it was just on point, man. There's a scene in this movie, and again, I'm not gonna get into like crazy details, but there's this demon traveling from very high up downwards, and it starts with this distant boom, and it progressively gets louder the closer it gets, and it's just, I don't know, man, they got something figured out over there at Ufotable. One other scene that I want to mention, and again, it's not really spoilery, but Giyu uses Dead Calm, which he's used before, which is just like the silence thing that like cancels stuff out, and something hits his blade, and then out of the silence, this choir just, ha! Oh my, goosebumps shot up and down me like a virus. And I wish it was out on digital so I could watch that part in particular over and over again, which I will be when it releases on digital. But yeah, TLDR, they nailed every direction with the soundtrack sound design. I cannot wait for that soundtrack to actually release because I don't think a single one missed. It just, everything felt perfect and on point. Also need to mention, there are, I would say, 3 really main fights in this movie, and not a single one was disappointing. Every single one had me on the edge of my seat. Every single one had a moment where my jaw dropped. And when you have like every fight nailing it, nailing the pacing, nailing the, oh, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose, it's just like, I can't, I'm struggled to find things that I had a problem with this movie. Like you could say about Mugen Train, the conductor demon, the demon that was like on the train, it was kind of a letdown. The whole, I mean, hype of Mugen Train is Rengoku versus Akaza. This, I don't see a moment or a fight where I'm like, oh yeah, I would skip over this. Now let me loop back around to Zenitsu. If you know me, you know that Zenitsu is by far one of my least favorite anime characters of all time, and it's not even close. He eclipses Usopp for me, and that's impressive. I don't even have a giant problem with the whole silly Billy obsessed with Nezuko thing. Don't get me wrong. Is it a bit over the top sometimes? Yeah, maybe. But Zenitsu's character, aside from that, I think just does not have any growth or development, and kind of correlates back to how short Demon Slayer is, but hear me out. In the Entertainment District arc, whenever he started doing the sleep thing, all of a sudden he just did it. Like there was no, you know, like lead up, build up to it. He was just able to fall asleep and just perform, and he understood. I know he fell asleep in the spider arc, but I mean like running around and like acting, you know what I mean? He was never seen honing it or anything for that like satisfying payoff of like, yes, his hard work, finally, we're here. This movie though, kind of turned his character on its head for me. His poise and just working his backstory in, it's why he's partially in the bad category of what I didn't like, is because I wanted more. If we could tack on another 20-30 minutes and make this a damn near 3-hour film just to get more Zenitsu, I would have taken it in a heartbeat, just for his backstory and a fight he takes part in. I actually remember hearing that this was gonna be a trilogy, and being a non-manga reader, I was like, there's just no way you fit one single Demon Slayer arc into 3 movies. I get it now, it does, it makes sense. There could be 4. At this point, there might be a 4th secret movie that we just don't know about. It was so action-packed, and yet there's still so much to go in the grand scheme of things. I don't even know how 2 more are gonna tie it up. Shinobu also just completely stunning in this movie, especially the setting for where one of the fights takes place that involves Shinobu. I just loved it. Just almost feels like a boss fight room. The other 2 settings were cool, but this one in particular really stuck out to me. And I have to mention Akaza. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say he's in this. He's an upper moon demon. He's gonna be involved. He's on like all of the promotional posters. Yeah, if I thought he was like a crazy cool demon coming out of Mugen Train, he might be the best demon that we've seen in the show up until this point. His character, his fighting style, everything about him, even whenever you see him thinking in his mind during a fight, he is so mesmerizing just to watch on the screen. I don't know how to explain it. That's a good second to just thank all the voice actors for putting in the work, because my goodness gracious, they did. And of course, Tanjiro's great. Just give me more Inosuke. Come on! With that being said, I would like to do reviews like this more often, even pertaining to series coming out. Like I almost did one for Daima when I finished. So I do need to implement a true scoring system. We're gonna do 0 through 10, including decimals. I just think 0 through 10 is perfect. You can always get very specific, but my verdict: Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, you stunned us all with your animation, which at this point is almost to be expected. You made me hyped out of my mind for a character that I wasn't too fond of even going into the movie. And you used every second meticulously and with purpose in such a long runtime. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle from me gets a 9.0 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what I should review next, and see you soon.